there it is. It's real. I'm like, I didn't get scammed. People always say, well, how do you tell that a deal, how do you tell that something is a scam listing? And usually it's pretty easy. It's the wording of the listing. It's the fact that it's priced for half of the actual value. The real obvious ones. If there's no phone number, that's a pretty obvious one. If there's pictures at a dealer and it's a private party sale, that's a pretty obvious one. One trick that a lot of scammers use, it's a little more advanced, is they'll find an old closed dealer, typically some tiny little corner lot obscure one, and they'll say that they're this dealer, and they'll actually get a dealer account with cars.com or another advertising agency. And then they'll put up a bunch of high-end cars for maybe 20% below value and get people to send them deposits or full wire transfers because they think, wow, this is actually a legitimate operation. Now that's a little bit more advanced in the game. The typical scam is for somebody just to steal pictures from either a current or an old listing and steal the description and just list it with their email address. And you email them and you get some stupid story back about how I'm overseas or I'm deployed or my grandfather is having cancer and this is why I can't be with the car, but you should buy it anyway. And sometimes they even have a copy of the title that they have forged, and they'll send that to you, and they want you to send a deposit, and they'll say, oh, well, we'll do the transaction through eBay in order to secure things. Newsflash, eBay doesn't do escrow or transactions. They are just an advertising platform. In all these ways, they just want to make you feel secure. Well, just give me your home address and we'll just ship you the car. You can have it for a week. And if you don't like it, then just send it back. But there's always a catch. So I've been searching for a Mercedes E350 Cabriolet for my wife because she doesn't like her E36 M3. And I can't blame her. So I've been searching for an E350 Cabriolet because I think that motor is probably the greatest one Mercedes has ever made. And it's a nice car, reliable, all that. So I found this blue on cream one down in Florida. Had about 80,000 miles, AMG Sport Package, air-conditioned seats for the wife. Everything looked great. And the price looked even better. It was $14,400 for a 2014. And I'm like, man, that is a deal. But like any too good to be true deal, somehow we convince ourselves that, well, there's a reason. And I looked at other cars for sale. I'm like, well, it's a deal, but it's not that good of a deal. It's not such a low price that it's a scam. There's this other 2012 with 120,000 miles. It's about the same price. It doesn't have the AMG package and it has a bad Carfax, but maybe somebody just didn't know the market, so they're pricing it low. So I emailed them, didn't hear back. Emailed them again the next day, didn't hear back. The more research I do, the more I'm like, man, this is a really good deal. I want to buy this car. So they had actually posted the VIN number in the ad. So I Googled the VIN number. I found a Craigslist listing. The Craigslist listing had all the same pictures. They even had a picture of the license plate. I ran the license plate. It came back to the same VIN. I ran the Carfax. It matched where the car was advertised. I'm like, man, I did all my due diligence. I'm such an amazing car sleuth. This is the real deal. And there was a phone number in the Craigslist ad. So I called the guy up and he answered. And I talked to him for like 20 minutes, asking him all about the car and, maintenance history, everything checked out. I'm like, man, this is awesome. So I was like, all right, well, what will you take for the car? He goes, for a quick deal, I do 20 grand. I was like, wait a minute. You got advertised for 14.4. He's like, no, I didn't. I had it advertised for 24.9. It's like, what? No, you're smoking crack. And then I went back and looked at the Craigslist listing, and sure enough, right at the top, 24.9. I'm the idiot that was so focused on all the details of whether or not the license plate came back to that VIN number and all the other things matched up that I totally missed that he was asking a market correct price and that I was the one on crack thinking that I could get a 14 AMG package E350 cab with all the options for 14 grand. So I felt like a total boob because I had talked this guy's ear off for 15 minutes being a professional car buyer and then realized that I was $10,000 off. So it was advertised for $14,400 on cars.com, but when I found the Craigslist listing, it was advertised for $24,900. But I completely glossed over that very important detail because I would have immediately realized that the $14,400 listing was a scam. But I was about to find out anyway because I finally got an email back from Erica Appleblom. Now, this was important because the actual owner's name of the car was Eric Appleblom. So Erica Appleblom gave me the same lines of, good day, good sir, fine gentleman, God bless you, blah, blah, blah. All these different things and saying eBay will secure the transaction, will ship the car to your house, just give me your address. Being incredibly busy, I didn't have time to do all sorts of shenanigans and lead her on for a long time. I essentially was just like, well, I'm applying for financing, this and that. Can I have a copy of the title? She sent me a copy of the title. And everything matched up because she had gotten a copy of the title from this Eric guy. They just photoshopped an A. Literally, that's all they did was change it to Erica. So some poor sap probably fell for that because they saw a copy of the title, but I had already talked to Eric, so I knew that Erica was a scammer. Also because she said good day and God bless and all the other keywords that are an immediate red flag for scammers. So that was not meant to be, and I was thoroughly disappointed. But a week later, I found another too good to be true deal that wasn't. I was on vacation and I got a notification for a Porsche GT3 RS for sale. And it had about 2,000 miles on it, and it was about 20% under market value. I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is not legit. So I pulled it up and same thing. Looked at the plate number came back to the VIN, Carfax checked out. It was in the same location that it was being advertised on eBay. And I put the car through my GT3 RS database. The options checked out. The options that were in the description matched the options that I could see in the pictures on the photos, which were very specific, yellow seat belts and all sorts of other things like that. And I'm like, I think this is actually legit. And I knew at the price it was at, it wasn't going to last long. So I was like, all right, well, I have about an hour to figure this out. I'm scrambling on a Saturday morning on vacation to try to figure out if this is legit. And I'm like, I think this is legit. And even if it isn't, who cares? Because they've got to buy it now through PayPal and they have purchase protection. So I'll get my $500 back. And even if I don't, I'll lose $500. Who cares? So I clicked buy it now. And it showed me the name of the person that I had just sent money to. So I Googled that name. That all came back legit. It was a multi-billionaire who had, property all over the place. And he owned a ranch, and that ranch name matched up with his eBay username and everything like that. And I'm like, man, everything seemed like a scam on the listing because it was terrible description, like 8 photos, 4 of which were duplicates of the other ones, all the red flags of being a scam, but it wasn't. And then I got a notification that, hey, you also might like this item from this other seller. And he had another GT3 RS, which was also priced under market. But this one was in Maine, like an hour from me. I'm like, wait a minute. The other one's in Florida. This one's in Maine. But that one has a Wyoming plate. And I just got this sinking feeling in my gut, like, okay, now I am being scammed. Like, this can't be. So I did all my due diligence on that one too. And I'm like, yeah, it all checks out. Buy it now. So, of course, then I sent him a message immediately, like, here's my cell number. Please call me. Just making sure this is real. And just holding my breath until I get a phone call, wondering if I had just gotten scammed or gotten the deal of the century. And I did end up getting a phone call, and it was legit. And I ended up going to check out one of the cars because it was a couple hours from me, and it was in an airport hangar. So we went into this airport hangar to check out this GT3 RS, and I walk in, and there it is. It's real. I'm like, I didn't get scammed. And I did all my checks on it. Everything looked good. The guy said, hey, do you want to drive it? And probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do was say no. And I always say that the path to a good car story is you always say yes. And here I was being handed the keys to a Porsche GT3 RS. It was raining and it was a private airstrip. And they asked if I wanted to drive it. And everything in me wanted to go just drift the crap out of that car around the airplanes. And I said no. I was trying to be somewhat wise because number one, I hadn't paid for the car yet. Number two, it was a 3,000 mile cream puff. And number three, it was on 6-year-old Pilot Sport Cup tires, which are notoriously not great in the wet and when cold. And I didn't want to make a fool of myself and turn a great situation into a bad one. 10 years ago, I would have jumped at the opportunity, but I'd say that maybe I'm learning just a wee bit of self-restraint in my older years. So I turned down the opportunity to drive a GT3 RS on a private airfield in the rain that wasn't mine yet. And I'm probably glad I did that because the car came back, sold it to a new buyer fairly quickly, made a good profit. Not one to retire off of, but it was nice because I got one of those deals, one of the few that we always think is too good to be true, but isn't.
Dream Car Exchange is our sponsor for the VINwiki channel this month, and we are having a VINwiki Dream Car Exchange car flipping contest. It is live now on their site. We've got 10 cars, 10 players, and 10 charities that the profits go to. So we're going to find out who the best car flipper of VINwiki is, and you guys are going to get to own some amazing cars. So head on over to dreamcarexchange.com, register to bid early, bid often, and win your dream car at Dream Car Exchange.